One cannot accept the Mayavadi sannyasis always misinterpret all the Shastras with their word jugglery and grammatical compositions. Yet, Sripad, Sripad Sankaracharya himself condemned such jugglery of words in the verse Prapte Sanihite Kale Nahi Rakshati Dukran Karane. Dukran refers to the suffixes and prefixes in Sanskrit grammar. Sankaracharya warned his disciples that if they concerned themselves only with the principles of grammar, not worshipping Govinda, they were fools who would never be saved. Yet, in spite of Sripad Sankaracharya's instructions, fool Mayavadi sannyasis are always busy juggling words on the basis of strict Sanskrit grammar. Mayavadi sannyasis are always puffed up if they hold the elevated sannyas title Tirtha, Ashrama, or Saraswati. Even among Mayavadis, those who belong to other sampradayas and hold other titles such as Vana, Aranya, or Bharati are considered to be lower grade sannyasis. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted sannyas from the Bharati Sampradaya, and thus he considered himself a lower sannyasi than Prakashananda Saraswati. To remain distinct from Vaishnava sannyasis, the sannyasis of Mayavad Sampradaya always think themselves to be situated in a very much elevated spiritual order. But Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in order to teach them how to become humble and meek, accepted himself as belonging to a lower sampradaya of sannyasis. Thus, he wanted to point out clearly that a sannyasi is one who is advanced in spiritual knowledge. One who is advanced in spiritual knowledge should be accepted as occupying a better position than those who lack such knowledge. The Mayavadi Sampradaya sannyasis are generally known as Vedantis, or as if Vedanta were their monopoly. Actually, however, Vedanti refers to a person who perfectly knows Krishna, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 15.15, Vedescha Sarver Aham Eva Vedya. By all the Vedas, it is Krishna who is to be known. The so called Mayavadis, Vedantists, do not know who Krishna is. Therefore, their title of Vedanti or knower of Vedanta philosophy is simply a pretension. Mayavadi sannyasis always think of themselves as real sannyasis and consider sannyasis of Vaishnava order to be brahmacharis. A brahmachari is supposed to engage in the service of a sannyasi and accept him as his guru. Mayavadi sannyasis therefore declare themselves to be not only gurus but jagat gurus, or the spiritual master of the entire world, although, of course, they cannot see the entire world. Sometimes they dress gorgeously and travel on the backs of elephants in processions, and thus they are always puffed up, accepting themselves as Jagat Gurus. Srila Rupa Goswami, however, has explained that Jagat Guru properly refers to one who is the controller of his tongue, mind, words, belly, genitals, and anger. Prithvim sa sishyat. Such a Jagat Guru is completely fit to make disciples all over the world. Due to false prestige, Mayavadi sannyasis who do not have these qualifications sometimes harass and blaspheme a Vaishnava sannyasi who humbly engages in the service of the Lord. Text number 65. आपने प्रकाशनंदा अतेते धरिया व शैला सभा मध्ये सम्मान करिया. Translation: Prakashananda Saraswati, however, caught Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally by the hand and seated him with great respect in midst of the assembly. Purport: The respectful behavior of Prakashananda Saraswati towards Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is very much appreciated. Such behavior is calculated to be agyata sukriti, or pious activities that one executes unknowingly. Thus, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu very tactfully gave Prakashananda Saraswati an opportunity to advance in agyata sukriti, so that in the future he might actually become a Vaishnava sannyasi. Text number 66. पुछील तुम्हार नाम श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य केशव भारतीर शिष्य ताते तुम्ही धन्य. Translation: Prakashananda Saraswati then said, I understand that your name is Sri Krishna Chaitanya. You are the disciple of Sri Keshav Bharati, and therefore you are glorious. Text number 67. सांप्रदायिका सन्यासी तुम्ही रहे ए ग्रामे की कारणे आमस बार ना कर दर्शने. Translation: You belong to our Shankara Sampradaya and live in our village Varanasi. Then why do you not associate with us? Why is it you avoid even seeing us? Purport: A Vaishnava sannyasi or a Vaishnava in the second stage of advancement in spiritual knowledge can understand four principles, namely the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the devotees, the innocent and jealous, and he behaves differently with each. He tries to increase his love for Godhead, make friendships with devotees, and preach Krishna consciousness among the innocent. But he avoids the jealous, who are always envious of Krishna consciousness movement. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself exemplified such behavior, and this is why Prakashananda Saraswati inquired why he did not associate or even talk with them. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu confirmed by example that a preacher of Krishna consciousness movement generally should not waste his time talking with Mayavadi sannyasis. But why then there are arguments on the basis of Shastra? A Vaishnava must come forward to talk and defeat them in philosophy. According to Mayavadi sannyasis, only one who takes sannyas in disciplic succession from Shankaracharya is a Vedic sannyasi. Sometimes it is challenged that sannyasis who are preaching in Krishna consciousness movement are not genuine because they do not belong to Brahmana family. For Mayavadis do not offer sannyas to one who does not belong to Brahmana family by birth. Unfortunately, however, they do not know the at present everyone is a Shudra. Kalau Shudra Sambhava. It is to be understood that there are no Brahmanas in this age, because those who claim to be Brahmana simply on the basis of birthright do not have the Brahminical qualifications. However, even if one is born in non-Brahmana family, if he has the Brahminical qualifications, he should be accepted as a Brahmana, as confirmed by Srila Narad Muni and the great saint Sridhar Swami. This is also stated in Srimad Bhagavatam. Both Narada and Sridhar Swami completely agree that one cannot be a Brahmana by birthright, but must possess the qualities of Brahmana. Thus, in our Krishna consciousness movement, we never offer the sannyasa order to a person who do not find who we do not find to be qualified in terms of prescribed Brahminical principles. Although it is a fact that unless one is a Brahmana, he cannot become a sannyasi. It is not valid principle that an unqualified man who is born in a Brahmana family is a Brahmana, whereas Brahminical qualified person born in a non-Brahmana family cannot be accepted. The Krishna consciousness movement strictly follows the injunctions of Srimad Bhagavatam, avoiding misleading hearsay and manufactured conclusions. Text number 68. Sannyasi he iya kara nartana gayana bhavuka sabha sange lana kara sankirtana. Translation: You are a sannyasi. Why then do you indulge in chanting and dancing, engaging in your Sankirtana movement in the company of fanatics? Purport: This is a challenge by Prakashananda Saraswati to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes in Anubhashya that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is the object of Vedanta philosophical research, has very kindly determined who is an appropriate candidate for study of Vedanta philosophy. The first qualification of such a candidate is expressed by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his Sikshashtaka. Trinad api sunichena tarorapi sahishnuna amanina manadena kirtaniya sadahari. This statement indicates that one can hear or speak about Vedanta philosophy through the disciplic succession. One must be very humble and meek, more tolerant than a tree, and more humble than a grass. One should not claim respect for himself, but be prepared to give all respect to others. One must have the qualification, these qualifications, to be eligible to understand Vedic knowledge. Text number 69. Vedanta pathana dhyana sannyasira dharma taha chadi kara kena bhavukera karma. Translation: Meditation and the study of Vedanta are the sole duties of sannyasi. Why do you abandon these for dance with fanatics? Purport: As explained in regard to verse 41, Mayavadi sannyasis do not approve of chanting and dancing. Prakashananda Saraswati, like Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, misunderstood Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to be a misled young sannyasi, and therefore he asked him why he indulged in the association of fanatics instead of executing the duty of a sannyasi. Text number 70. प्रभावे देखिया तोमा साक्षात नारायण हीनाचार कर के न इथि के कारण. Translation: You look as brilliant as if you were Narayan himself. Will you kindly explain the reason you have adopted a behavior of a lower class people? Purport: Due to renunciation, Vedanta study, meditation, and the strict regulative principles of their daily routine, Mayavadi sannyasis are certainly in a position to execute pious activities. Thus, Prakashananda Saraswati, on account of his piety, could understand that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was not an ordinary person, but the supreme personality of Godhead, Sakshad Narayan. He considered him to be Narayan himself. Mayavadi sannyasis address one another as Narayan because they think they are all going to be Narayan or merge with Narayan in next life. Prakashananda Saraswati appreciated Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had already directly become Narayan and did not need to wait until his next life. One difference between Vaishnava and Mayavadi philosophies is that Mayavadi philosophers think that they give up their bodies and they are going to become Narayan by merging with his body. Whereas Vaishnava philosophers understand that after the body dies, they are going to have transcendental spiritual body in which to associate with Narayan. Text number 71. प्रभु कहे शूना श्रीपाद इहार कारण गुरु मोरे मूरख देखी करीले शासन. Translation: Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied to Prakashananda Saraswati, "My dear sir, kindly hear the reason. My spiritual master considered me a fool, and therefore he chastised me." Purport: When Prakashananda Saraswati inquired from Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu why he neither studied Vedanta nor performed meditation, Lord Chaitanya presented himself as a number one fool in order to indicate that the present age Kali Yuga, in an age of fools and rascals, in which it is not possible to obtain perfection simply by reading Vedanta philosophy and meditating. The Shastra strongly recommend Hare Nam, Hare Nam ev kevalam, Kalau nasti, ev nasti, ev nasti gatir anyatha. In this age of quarrel and hypocrisy, the only means of deliverance is chanting the holy names of the Lord. There is no other way. There is no other way. There is no other way. People in general in Kali Yuga are so fallen that it is not possible for them to obtain perfection simply by studying the Vedanta Sutra. One should therefore seriously take the constant chanting of the holy name of the Lord. Text number 72. मूरख तुम्ही तुम्हारा नाही का वेदांत कार कृष्णा मंत्र जप सदा यही मंत्र सार. Translation: You are a fool, he said. You are not qualified to study Vedanta philosophy, and therefore you must always chant the holy name of Krishna. This is the essence of all mantras or Vedic hymns. Purport: Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Goswami Maharaj comments in this connection. One can become perfectly successful in the mission of his life if he acts exactly according to the words he hears from the mouth of his spiritual master. This acceptance of the words of spiritual master is called Shrauta Vakya, which indicates the disciple must carry out the spiritual master's instructions without deviation. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur remarks in this connection that a disciple must accept the words of his spiritual master as his life and soul. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu here confirms this by saying that since his spiritual master ordered him only to chant the holy name of Krishna, he always chanted the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra according to the direction. Krishna Mantra Japa Sada A Mantra Sar. Krishna is the origin of everything. Therefore, when a person is fully Krishna conscious, it is to be understood that his relationship with Krishna has been fully confirmed. Lacking Krishna consciousness, one is only partially related with Krishna and is therefore not in his constitutional position. Although Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, the spiritual master of the entire universe, he nevertheless took the position of a disciple in order to teach by example how a devotee should strictly follow the orders of the spiritual master in executing the duty of always chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. One who is very much attracted to the study of Vedanta philosophy must take lessons from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In this age, no one can is actually competent to study Vedanta, and therefore it is better that one chant the holy name of Lord, who is the essence of all Vedic knowledge, as Krishna himself confirms in Bhagavad Gita 15.15. Vedesya charver aham eva vedyo Vedanta krit vedavid eva chaham. By all the Vedas, I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of Vedanta, and I am the knower of Vedas. Only fool gives up the service of spiritual master and think themselves advanced in spiritual knowledge. In order to check such fools, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself presented the perfect example of how to become a disciple. A spiritual master knows very well how to engage each disciple in a particular duty. But if a disciple, thinking himself more advanced than his spiritual master, gives up his orders and acts independently, he checks his own spiritual progress. Every disciple must consider himself completely unaware of the signs of Krishna and must always be ready to carry out the orders of the spiritual master to become competent in Krishna consciousness. A disciple should always remain a fool before his spiritual master. Therefore, sometimes pseudo spiritualists accept a spiritual master who is not even fit to become a disciple because they want to keep him under their control. This is useless for spiritual realization. One who imperfectly knows Krishna consciousness cannot know Vedanta philosophy. A showy display of Vedanta study without Krishna consciousness is a feature of the external energy Maya. And as long as one is attracted by inebrities of this ever changing material energy, he deviates from devotion to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. An actual follower of Vedanta philosophy is a devotee of Lord Vishnu, who is greatest of the great and the maintainer of the entire universe. Unless one surpasses the field of activities in the service to the limited, one cannot reach the unlimited. Knowledge of the unlimited is actually Brahmagyan or knowledge of the Supreme. Those who are addicted to fruitive activities and speculative knowledge cannot understand the value of the holy name of Lord Krishna, which is completely pure, eternally liberated, and full of spiritual bliss. One who has taken the shelter of the holy name of the Lord, which is identical with the Lord, does not have to study Vedanta philosophy, for he has already completed all such study. One who is unfit to chant the holy name of Krishna, but thinks that holy name is different from Krishna, and has thus taken the shelter of Vedanta study, in order to understand him, must be considered a number one fool. As confirmed by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, by his personal behavior, and philosophical speculators who want to make Vedanta philosophy an academic career are also considered to be within the material energy. A person who always chants the holy name of the Lord, however, is already beyond the ocean of nations. And thus, even a person born in a low family who engages in chanting the holy name of the Lord is considered to be beyond the study of Vedanta philosophy. In Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, 33rd chapter, 7th verse, it states, Aho bhata swa pachu तो गरियान यज जीवाग्रे वर्तते नाम तुभ्यम ते पुस्तपस्ते जुहुवु सश्नुर आर्य brahmanuchur नाम granati yete. If a person is in a family of dog eaters, takes to chanting of the holy name of Lord Krishna, it is to be understood that in his previous life he must have executed all kinds of austerities and penances and performed all the Vedic yagnas. Another quotation states that Rig Vedo tha Yajurvedo Sam Vedo pi Atharvana Adhitastena Yenoktam Hari iti Aksharadvayam. A person who chants the two name Hari has already studied the four Vedas Samved, Rigved, Yajurved, and Atharved. Taking advantages of these verses, there are some Sahajiyas who, taking everything very cheaply, consider themselves elevated Vaishnavas, but do not even care to touch the Vedanta Sutra or Vedanta philosophy. A real Vaishnava should, however, study Vedanta philosophy, but if after studying Vedanta one does not adopt the chanting of the holy name of the Lord, he is no better than a Mayavadi. Therefore, one should not be a Mayavadi, yet one should not be unaware of the subject matter of Vedanta philosophy. Indeed, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu exhibited his knowledge of Vedanta in discourses with Prakashananda Saraswati. Thus, it is to be understood that a Vaishnava should be completely conversant with Vedanta philosophy. Yet, he should not think that studying Vedanta is all in all and therefore be unattached to the holy name, chanting of the holy name. A devotee must know the importance of simultaneously understanding Vedanta philosophy and chanting the holy names. If by studying Vedanta one becomes an impersonalist, he has not been able to understand Vedanta. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 15.15. Vedanta means the end of knowledge. The ultimate end of knowledge is knowledge of Krishna, who is identical with his holy name. Cheap Vaishnavas, Sahijias, do not care to study the Vedanta philosophy as commented upon by the four Acharyas. In the Gaudiya Sampradaya, there is a Vedanta commentary called Govind Bhashya by the Sahijias, but the Sahijias consider such commentaries to be untouchable philosophical speculation, and they consider the Acharyas to be mixed devotees. Thus, they clear their way to hell. Text number 73. Krishna mantra haite habe samsara mochana. Krishna nama haite pabe Krishnera charana. Translation. Simply by chanting the holy name of Krishna, one can obtain freedom from material existence. Indeed, simply by chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, one will be able to see the lotus feet of the Lord. Purport. In his Anubhashya, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur says that the actual effect will be visible as soon as one achieves the transcendental knowledge is that he will immediately become free from the clutches of Maya and fully engage in the service of the Lord. Unless one serves the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Mukunda, one cannot become free from fruitive activities under the external energy. However, when one chants the holy name of the Lord offenselessly, one can realize a transcendental position that is completely aloof from the material conception of life. Rendering service to the Lord, a devotee relates to the Supreme Personality of Godhead in one of five relationships, namely Shanta, Dasya, Sakhya, Vatsalya, or Madhurya. And thus he relishes transcendental bliss, that relationship. Such a relationship certainly transcends the body and mind. When one realizes that the holy name of the Lord is identical with the Supreme Person, he becomes completely eligible to chant the holy name of the Lord. Such an ecstatic chanter, dancer, must be considered to be a direct to have a direct relationship with the Lord. According to Vedic principles, there are three stages of spiritual advancement, namely Sambandh Jnana, Abhideha Jnana, Abhideha, and Prayojana. Sambandh Jnana refers to establishing one's original relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Abhideha refers to acting according to that constitutional relationship. And Prayojana is the ultimate goal of life, which is to develop the love for Godhead. Prema pum artho mahan. One, if adheres to the regulative principles under the order of the spiritual master, he will very easily achieve the ultimate goal of his life. A person who is addicted to the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra very easily gets the opportunity to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead directly. There is no need for such a person to understand the grammatical jugglery in which Mayavadi sannyasis generally indulge. Sri Shankaracharya also stressed this point. Na hi rakshati dukran karane. Simply by juggling grammatical suffixes and prefixes, one cannot save himself from the clutches of death. The grammatical word jugglers cannot bewilder a devotee who engages in chanting of Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Simply addressing the energy of the Supreme Lord as Hare and Lord Himself as Krishna very soon situates the Lord within the heart of the devotee. By such addressing Radha and Krishna, one directly engages in his Lordship's service. The essence of all revealed scriptures and all knowledge is present when one addresses the Lord and his name and his energy by the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. For this transcendental vibration can completely liberate a conditioned soul and directly engage him in the service of the Lord. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu presented himself as a grand fool, yet he maintained all the words that he had heard from his spiritual master, strictly followed the principles stated by Vyasadeva in Srimad Bhagavatam. Anarthopasannam sakshad bhakti yoga adhokshage lokasyagnato vidams chakre shatvata samhitam. The material miseries of a living entity, which are superfluous to him, can be directly mitigated by linking the process of devotional service. But the mass of people do not know this, and therefore the learned Vyasadev compiled the Vedic literature Srimad Bhagavatam, which is in relation to the supreme truth. One can overcome all misconceptions and entanglement in the material world by bhakti yoga. And therefore, Vyasadeva, acting on the instruction of Sri Narada, has very kindly introduced Srimad Bhagavatam to relieve the conditioned souls from the clutches of Maya. Lord Chaitanya's spiritual master instructed him, therefore, that one must read Srimad Bhagavatam regularly and with scrutiny to gradually become attached to the chanting of Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. The holy name and the Lord are identical. One who is completely free from the clutches of Maya can understand this fact. This knowledge, which is achieved by the mercy of the spiritual master, places one on the supreme transcendental platform. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu presented himself as a fool because prior to accepting the shelter of a spiritual master, he could not understand that simply by chanting, one can be relieved from all material conditions. But as soon as he becomes a faithful servant of his spiritual master and followed his instructions, he very easily saw the path of liberation. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's chanting of Hare Krishna mantra must be understood to be devoid of all offenses. The 10 offenses against the holy name are as follows: to blaspheme devotees of the Lord, to consider Lord and the demigods to be on same level, or to think that there are many gods, to neglect the orders of spiritual master, to minimize the authorities of Vedas, or to interpret the holy name of the Lord in different ways, to commit sins on the strength of chanting, to instruct glories of Lord name to unfaithful, to compare the holy name to material piety, to be inattentive while chanting, and to be attached to material things in spite of chanting the holy name. Text number 74. Nama vinu kali kale nahi ara dharma sarva mantra sharanama ei shastra marma. Translation: in this age of Kali, there is no religious principle other than chanting of the holy names, which is the essence of all Vedic hymns. This is the purport of all scriptures. Purport: the principles of parampara system very strictly honored in previous ages, Satyuga, Treta Yuga, and Dwapar Yuga. But in this present age, Kali Yuga, people neglect the importance of this system of Shrotu Parampara, or receiving knowledge by disciplic succession. In this age, people are prepared to argue that they can understand that which is beyond their limited knowledge and perception through so called scientific observations and experiments, not knowing that actual truth comes down to man from authorities. This argumentative attitude is against the Vedic principles, and it is very difficult for one who adopts it to understand the holy name of Krishna is as good as Krishna himself. Since Krishna and his holy names are identical, the holy name is eternally pure and beyond material contamination. It is the supreme personality of Godhead as a transcendental vibration. The holy name is completely different from material sound, as confirmed by Narottam Das Thakur, Golokera Premadhana Hari Nam Sankirtan. The transcendental seven, seven, 74. Golokera Premadhana Hari Nam Sankirtan. The transcendental vibration of Hari Nam Sankirtan is imported from the spiritual world. Thus, although materialists who are addicted to experimental knowledge and so called scientific method cannot place their faith in the chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, it is said it is a fact that simply by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra offenselessly, one can be freed from all subtle and gross material conditions. The spiritual world is called Vaikuntha, which means without anxiety. In the material world, everything is full of anxiety, kuntha, whereas spiritual world, Vaikuntha, everything is free from anxiety. Therefore, those who are afflicted by combinations of anxiety cannot understand Hare Krishna mantra, which is free from all anxiety. In the present age, the vibration of Hare Krishna Mahan Mantra is the only process that is in transcendental position beyond material contamination. Since the holy name can deliver a conditioned soul, it is explained here to be Sarva Mantra Sar, the essence of all Vedic hymns. And a name that represents a object of this material world may be subjected to arguments and experimental knowledge. But in absolute world, a name and its owner, the fame and the famous, are identical and similar to the qualities of the pastimes. And everything else pertaining to the absolutes are also absolute. Although Mayavadis profess monism, they differentiate between the holy name of the Supreme Lord and the Lord Himself. For this offense of Nam Aprad, they gradually glide down from the exalted position of Brahmagyan as confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam. Aru rahe krechen kach krichrena param padam tatha patanti adho nadrita yushmad angraha. Although the severe austerities they rise to exalted position of Brahmagyan, they nevertheless fall down to imperfect knowledge of absolute truth. Although they profess to understand the Vedic mantra Sarvam Khav Idam Brahma, which means everything is Brahman, they are unable to understand that the holy name is also Brahman. If they regularly chant Maha Mantra, however, they cannot be relieved from this misconception. Unless one properly takes shelter of the holy name, he cannot be relieved from the offensive stage of chanting of the holy name. Text 75.
75 पढ़ना है?
जी.
Seven 75.
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah, after describe. See
जी.
the same.
हाँ.
जो थोड़ा थोड़ा लूज टाइट करो ना। 7 chapter 75 थोड़ा बढ़ा लो हल्का। After describing the potency of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, my spiritual master taught me another verse, advising me to always keep within my throat. पर्पट नहीं है क्या उसमें?
नहीं, नेक्स्ट 76 हो गया अब। इसमें से पढ़ेंगे थोड़ा छोटा, हरि नाम केवल ऐसे करके, ऐसे बड़ा करके, हरि नाम केवल
ये ना
ऐसे, यही है
76 है।
हाँ,
ओके।
ये पढ़ लिया आपने? हाँ, नीचे नीचे।
हरे नाम एव केवलम खलु नास्ते एव गतिरन्यतम. For spiritual progress in this age of Kali, there is no alternative. There is no alternative to holy name. To the holy name. The holy name of the Lord. For progress in spiritual life, the Shastras recommended meditation in Satya Yuga, sacrifice for the sacrifice for the satisfaction of Lord Vishnu in the Treta Yuga and gorgeous worship gorgeous worship of the Lord in the temple in Dwapara Yuga. But in the age of Kali, one can achieve spiritual progress only by chanting the holy name of the Lord. This is confirmed in various uh, scriptures in Srimad Bhagavatam. There are many references to this fact. In the 12th canto, 3.51, it is said, कलेर दोष निधि राजन हस्ती है को महान गुना कीर्तनादि एवं कृष्णाय मुक्त संग परम रजेत. In the age of Kali, there are many faults, for people are subjected to many miserable conditions. Yet, in this age, there is one great benediction. Simply by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, one can be freed from all material contamination and thus be elevated to the spiritual world. The spiritual world, the Narada Pancharatra also places the Hare Krishna Mahamantra as follows. Trayo Ved Sada Angani Chan, Chandramas Chandra Chandramasi Vividhata Swaraha Swaram Ashtakshanath Satayat Kanchetapi Yad Mahayam Sarva Vedanta Sarvatha Sam Samsara Nava Pranava. Thus, essence of all Vedic knowledge, comprehending the three kinds of Vedic activities, karma kanda, jnana kanda, and upasana kanda. The, the chandas or Vedic hymns and the processes of satisfy the demigods is included in the eight syllables Hare Krishna. This is the reality of all Vedanta. The chanting of the holy name is the only means to cross the ocean of nescience. Similarly, the Kali Santana Upanishad states Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. These 16 names are composed of 32 syllables are the only means to contract the evil effects of Kali Yuga. In the all Vedas, it is seen that to cross the ocean of nations, there is a no alternative to the chanting of the holy name. Similarly, Sri Madhavacharya, highly commenting who upon the Mukunda Upanishad, has quoted to following verse of the Narayana Samhita. द्वापरेर जनेर्विष्णु पंच पंचरात्रस्तु केवलै कलौ तो नाममात्रेण पुनर्पूज्यते भगवान हरिः हरे. In Dwapara Yuga, one could satisfy Krishna or Vishnu only by worshipping him gorgeously according to the Panchara Pancharatric system. But in the age of Kali, one satisfy and worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, simply by chanting the holy name. In his Bhakti Kandharva, text 284, Srila Jiva Goswami strongly emphasizes the chanting of the holy name of the Lord follows Nano Bhagavan Nama Namanka Namanka Eva Mantra Tarah Tarah Vishnena Namaha Sabda Stabdi Alankara Shri Bhagavat Srimad Rashi Shri Chahita Sakhi Vijayset Shri Bhagavat Saman Atma Sambhavadha Vishesha प्रतीक्षाश तत्र केवलानि श्रीभगवान् सं नमोऽमे अपि निराप्रेक्ष्यानि एवं परम पुरुषस्थ कुलपर्यन्त दोन सम्प्र सम्भ्रान्ति ततो मनस्त्रेषु नमोऽपि अधिक समाप्रे लभात् कथम् दिश दीक्षादि अपेक्षा उच्चैदि अपि स्वरूपो नास्ति तथापि प्रयाः सम्भवस देहाति सम्बन्धेन कद्- कद्राय कद्राशिलां विक्षिप्त चित्रं जन्म तत् संस्कृतकराय श्रीमत्प्रि कुर्भरि आत्मा अत्राचन मुर्ग कश्चित् कर्वी कचित् मध्य स्थापि श्री Srila Jiva Goswami states that the substance of all the Vedic mantras is the chanting of the holy name of Lord. Every mantra begins with the prefix Namo Om and eventually addressed by the name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By the supreme will, by the supreme will of the Lord, there is a specific potency in each and every mantra chanted by great sages like Narada Muni and other rishis. Chanting the holy name of the Lord immediately renovated the transcendental relationship of the living being with the Supreme Lord. To chant the holy name of the Lord, and one need not depend upon the other paraphernalia for the for one can immediately get all the desired result of linking with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It may therefore be questioned by why there is a necessity for initiation or further spiritual activities in devotional service for one who engages in the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. The answer is that Although it is correct that one who fully engages in chanting the holy name need not depend upon the process of initiation. Generally, a devotee is addicted addicted to many abominable material habits due to material contamination from his previous life. In order to get quick relief from all these contaminations, it is required that one engage in the worship of the Lord in the temple. The worship of Lord deities in the temple is essential to reduce one's restlessness due to the contamination of conditions life. Thus, Narada in his Pancharatrika Vidhi and other great sages have sometimes stressed that since every condition soul has a bodily concept of life aimed at sense enjoyment, the restrict this to restrict this sense enjoyment, the rules and regulations for worshipping the deity in the temple are essential. Srila Prabhupada Goswami has described that the holy name of the Lord can be chanted by liberated souls, but also almost all the souls we have to initiate our conditions. It is advised that one chant the holy name of the Lord without offenses and according to the regulatory principles. Yet, due to their past bad habits, they violate these rules and regulations. Thus, the regulatory principles for worshipping of the deities are also simultaneously essential. Text 77. Since I received this order from my spiritual master, I always chant the holy name, but I thought that by chanting the holy name, I had been bewildered. 78. While chanting the holy name of the Lord in pure uh, ex- ecstasy, I lose myself, and thus I laugh, cry, dance, and sing just like a madman. 79. Collecting my patience, therefore, I began to consider that chanting the holy name of Krishna had covered all my spiritual knowledge purport. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu hints in this verse that to chant the holy name of Krishna, one does not need to uh, speculate on speculate on the philosophical aspect of the science of God. For one automatically becomes ecstatic and without consideration immediately chants, dance, laughs, cries, and sings just like a madman. Text 80. I saw that I had become mad by chanting the holy name, and I immediately submitted this at the lotus feet of spiritual master. Purport. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as an ideal teacher, shows us how to describe how to decide the disciple should how a disciple should deal with his spiritual master. Whenever there is a doubt regarding any point, he should refer the matter of this spiritual master for clarification. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that while chanting and dancing, he had developed the kind of mad ecstasy that is possible only for a liberated soul. Yet, even in his liberated position, he he referred everything to his spiritual master whenever there were doubts. Thus, in any condition, even when liberated, we should never think ourselves independent of the spiritual master, but must refer to him as soon as there is some doubts regarding our progressive spiritual life. Last one, last week. अभी 81 से शुरू करें ठीक है
हो गया ना 8 बजे।
श्री चैतन्य चरितमृत की जय श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय
नाइस। अभी उपनिषद पढ़ेंगे।